Some sci-fi movies are almost impossible to understand. Sure, there are plenty of Star Wars and Star Treks to go around, but outside of the genre's more approachable side, there are always more strange, thoughtful and downright surreal offerings which defy all explanation. With that in mind then, despite the fact that we don't know what's going on, spoiler warnings are in full effect because I'm Sci-Fi and these are 10 sci-fi movie endings no one understands. Number 10. 12 Monkeys. What was the point of time travelling? Released in 1995, Terry Gilliam's 12 Monkeys may be one of the perpetually studio-stifled former Python's most beloved films. However, like his equally acclaimed earlier effort Brazil, it's also one of the filmmaker's bleakest hours. The film follows our potentially insane hero Cole after an epidemic wipes out much of the world. Sent too far back in time and ending up in an asylum, he attempts to inform himself of the danger in order to stop the tragedy ever occurring. However, Cole is soon stuck being bounced back and forth between intersecting timelines in a story which becomes more bizarre and Byzantian the further it progresses. By the end of the film, our nominal hero is dying in front of his younger self, embodying a nightmare he's had throughout the whole movie. But why? Why send him back if he was doomed to repeat this fate? What would have happened if he hadn't gone back? What was the whole point? This complex film posits that you can change what you take from the past even if you can't alter what happened back then through an uncompromisingly bleak and convoluted plot. Number 9. Coherence. What will M do next? Coherence's story can technically be followed on first viewing, but requires numerous spreadsheets to successfully untie every knot. This underrated 2013 sci-fi follows a group of friends at a dinner party who are besieged by odd occurrences, only to discover that they are accidentally able to walk into an alternate, simultaneously occurring reality alongside their own. By the time the film's surreal ending rolls around, you may well be lost, as the friends have encountered and clashed with so many versions of themselves that it's impossible to remember which reality the film has settled in. Not only is the cause of this temporal anomaly never explained beyond one mention of a passing comet, our heroine is now stuck with a group of people who have no idea about the merging multiverse realities. So good luck explaining whatever the mind F that was that viewers just witnessed to these versions of your friends, M. Number 8. The Quiet Earth. Where is the beach? Released in 1985, this New Zealand sci-fi film is still an underrated slice of post-apocalyptic action. The Quiet Earth follows the fate of 3 survivors after the end of the world, a scientist, an Aboriginal man, and the love interest who the pair are soon competing for the affections of in a love triangle that turns metaphysical fast. At first, the film's tense and interesting action is fairly easy to follow, with the unlikely trio attempting to survive as well as trying to understand what happened to their devastated planet. Then comes the film's infamously strange ending, wherein our hero crashes a truck rigged with explosives and wakes up on a dark beach watching cloud formations as they emerge from the ocean in front of him. The imagery in this one may feel impossible to decipher, but the director insists it's a pretty easy to uncover metaphor for purgatory. Maybe it helps if you share his lapsed Catholicism, but luckily said director also conceded that enigmatic is good. Just as well he thinks so, given the fact that almost no viewers understand what's happening here the first time they see it. Number 7. Stalker. Was the wish granted? Released in 1979, the deeply confusing and complex Stalker is often singled out as the finest film from Solaris director Andrei Tarkovsky. The body of the film's action sees the titular guide bring a heartbroken writer and their disagreeable professor companion through the Zone, a space which is said to contain a room that grants the wishes of its visitors. All manner of metaphysical arguments proceeds from here, as well as plenty of stunning scenery and strange surreal imagery, and of course an enigmatic ending. It's impossible to decide for certain whether our young heroine Monkey is moving glasses with her mind, or the passing trains soon seen by the viewer are causing them to shake along with the rest of the house. Thus the viewer is left to decide for themselves whose desire was granted, and how real or imaginary the Zone's supposed power was after all. Thus Stalker leaves viewers no clearer than they were at the beginning. Number 6. A Scanner Darkly. What's the motive? Who would you trust more, a pharmaceutical company or the feds? No matter your answer, the ending of this Philip K. Dick adaptation is likely to leave you heartbroken. A Scanner Darkly is likely the most personal of the many stories mined from the prolific sci-fi writer's back catalogue. It's a tale of an undercover cop who falls in with a crowd of drug users and grows to care for them more than his shadowy superiors was based on Dick's own experience with drugs and the gradual dissolution of his friend group through the tragedy of addiction. So, appropriately enough, the end of this dark 2006 adaptation sees Keanu Reeves' paranoid anti-hero become addicted to Substance D. He appears to be blissfully ignorant of the fact that he's farming the flowers used to synthesize the drug for the mysterious and dangerous company who produce it. But then he steals a sample to provide his superiors, meaning he's still undercover, provide for himself, since he's still addicted, or provide to his friends who the viewer is pretty sure are dead and gone. It's hard to tell, but whatever the answer, it's probably better than being stuck farming drugs for your enemies. Number 5. Life Force. What's going on with the space vampires? Poor Tobe Hooper. The horror genius behind the Texas Chainsaw Massacre created what is undoubtedly one of the most intense horror films in cinema history with his 1974 mega hit. However, in the decades since, he never really reached the same staggering heights artistically, with a string of interesting but flawed films following his initial blockbuster success. Case in point, 1985 sci-fi vampire horror Life Force has a killer premise which soon becomes drowned in overly complex plotting. The movie follows a set of scientists as they attempt to study a trio of astronauts who appear to have transformed into space vampires, a conceit with plenty of potential provided it doesn't become needlessly convoluted. The film's problem is epitomised by its bizarre ending, one of which remains a point of contention for sci-fi and horror fans alike. So one of our heroes was a space vampire the whole time, unbeknownst to himself due to a hitherto unmentioned psychic bond, and said space vampires arrive and leave Earth based on the passing of Halley's Comet, and they simply transform, our hero included, into a vanishing column of energy to disappear at the end. Of course, what could have been clearer? And here this one seemed confusing for a minute. Number 4. Planet of the Apes 2001. How did the apes change reality? It's pretty much impossible to overstate the influence of the ending featured in 60s sci-fi classic Planet of the Apes. The otherwise solid Charlton Heston vehicle became instantly iconic and spawned an entire franchise thanks to its killer twist. The reveal that, as Troy McClure would put it, it was Earth all along was an unheralded and dazzling ending which would still make the likes of Hitchcock and M. Night Shyamalan proud. So the oddly chosen director Tim Burton's 2001 remake of the classic had pretty sizable shoes to fill in this regard. The film attempted to outdo the original bombshell twist, but instead left viewers with a brain-melting, time-twisting paradox of alternate histories to untangle. By the time this version reaches its close, our hero has returned to his own time, but the apes have gotten there first somehow. Not only that, they've gone and replaced the statue of Abraham Lincoln with a villainous future ape. Well, presumably they've done more than that whilst rewriting history, but good luck working out how they managed it on first viewing. Number 3. The Black Hole. What's in the black hole? Now, most of the entries on this list do have explanations which can untangle their initially impossible to decipher meanings, but your guess is as good as ours on 1979's The Black Hole and its strange, surreal closing coda. Your interpretation is also as good as the director's too, as the film's creators admitted they never had an ending in mind when working on this Disney flop. All that can be said for sure is that yes, our heroic captain finds her father's long-lost spaceship near a black hole and decides to board the vessel in order to solve the mystery behind his disappearance. But from there on out, trippy 70s sci-fi psychedelia takes over proceedings and maintains a stranglehold on the plot until the infamous ending. No matter the elasticity of your interpretation, all that appears to be clear is that yes, the characters enter and later leave what looks like hell through the titular black hole at the film's close. The film then sees its characters plunging towards a faraway star that might be heaven, might be the way back home to Earth, it might just be a star, who knows? Number 2. Vanilla Sky. What is tech support? Released in 2001, Vanilla Sky is one of director Cameron Crowe's most underrated cinematic offerings, as well as being a major tonal departure for the almost famous filmmaker. This Tom Cruise vehicle is a surprisingly cerebral and dark thriller which sees our hero thrust into a world of mystery and intrigue. It all starts in the iconic sequence wherein he awakens to an empty New York City, a surreal sight which serves as a warning that all is not as it seems. And indeed, the viewer eventually learns that this isn't New York at all. The protagonist has been in an induced coma this entire time, and the glimpses of his real life have been glitches in the system. Well, don't expect any answers from the film's ambiguous ending anyway. So-called tech support offers the above explanation, but there's no way of knowing if they're telling the truth, if this is all a dream, or if it's a dying hallucination in the moments since his car crash. In the end, the viewer knows our hero is choosing to wake up, but whether he's dead, alive, in heaven, in purgatory, in a coma, or anywhere else is very unclear. Number 1. Beyond the Black Rainbow. Everything about it. Released in 2010, Panos Cosmatos' Beyond the Black Rainbow signalled the arrival of a singular new talent in the world of psychedelic sci-fi. Garnering understandable comparisons to the work of Alejandro Jodorowsky, the film saw the visionary director turn the story of a telekinetic girl and the shadowy doctor experimenting on her into a total brain melter. How much so? Well, the movie manages to make a shot of some carpet into a trippy, nightmarish, prolonged sequence. So its take on telekinesis, mind melding, and new age reach transcendence are understandably pretty insane too. But as confusing as the bulk of this film's action is, the ending truly takes the biscuit, with a wild and impossible to decipher psychedelic odyssey which makes Kubrick's 2001 look easy to follow in comparison. Suffice it to say that the viewer never learns the mysterious origins or intentions of the Arborea Institute outside of the eponymous Doctor's attempts to achieve transcendence, a goal which ends with him maybe succeeding, definitely becoming something more than human, and very dangerous. As for our heroine, she may be free to roam the Earth, but the viewer still has no idea where she came from, how she acquired her powers, or what's next for her. And that's the list. Let us know what you thought of this video down in the comments below. Which of these sci-fi movie endings blew your mind the most? And of course, let us know of any others that we missed. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Head over to whatculture.com for more content every day. I've been Sci-Fi What Culture, and have a good week.